here is Jeff Sessions. He is the Attorney General of the United States, the chief law enforcement officer, theoretically the maybe the highest ranking officer of the court, aside from, judges, of course, in the country. And here he is on the Mark Levin Show.
We are confident that the president will prevail on appeal, and particularly in the Supreme Court, if not the Ninth Circuit. So this is a huge matter. I really am amazed that a judge sitting on an island in the Pacific can issue an order that stops the President of the United States from what appears to be clearly his statutory and constitutional powers.
Now, he's obviously...
So much to comment on.
Well,
there.
yeah, and just to set the table, I'll let you comment. He's obviously talking about the Muslim ban that was enjoined from going into effect by a federal judge in Hawaii. Go.
Well, let's start with this is what happens. This is sort of what the Trump era has unleashed. And it's not like it was immediately just Donald Trump. It's been a long, slow process downward for the Republican Party, especially for those who run the party. But, Jeff Sessions used to be one of those guys who sat in sort of in the back and never really got anything done and was just, his day job was being a racist, kind of like Jesse Helms. And a few of these other types like that, unreconstructed racists who made it quite clear that they bring that peculiar institution back if they could. And so, it starts off with that's what happens when these guys get put into real positions. So now people pay attention to what Jeff Sessions says. And that island in the Pacific clearly was meant to not just be condescending, but racist. It wouldn't be that way if it were an island filled with white people like Alabama. It's that island, with the Asian people and the blah, 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 and it's liberal. And so right away, and it's not part of America. It was one of the most recent ones we brought into, God help us. And then on top of that, of course, he again is showing what he's always shown, which is absolutely no respect for the judicial process, which is what he didn't show when he was in Alabama, when he was both a prosecutor and a judge, which is why he was rejected by a Republican Senate and couldn't get appointed to a federal judgeship in the 1980s, something that had only happened, I think he didn't make a committee, if I remember correctly, something that only happened like one other time in 40 years. And why Coretta Scott King wrote the letter about him that she wrote. And, what this guy clearly, and now, of course, we know he perjured himself quite clearly. I'm sorry, you don't have to sort of try to figure it out on whether he met with the Russians or not. He's just somebody who temperamentally, ethically, and really intellectually has no business being in this position. But that makes him exactly right for this position during the Trump era. Almost perfect, really.
I find it just stunning that this guy, who is the chief lawyer of the United States government, is attacking the federal judiciary. And this is it's racist not only in the fact that it is he's sort of maligning Hawaii because ostensibly it's not really American, I guess. But it's also
right. It's an island filled with non-white people, so how could it be American?
There's also a sort of like a very pronounced neo-Confederate strain here, where it's basically saying the idea of the federal judiciary having this power, there's definitely that quality of like, here comes the feds again telling us how to run our business. And it is...
by the way, those are the days in between when he's not saying stupid things about how he should be able to go in and tell places like California that people can't smoke pot.
Right.
Because it's okay for him to do that.
Right.
It's just not okay for... Right.
Just
go ahead.
And the fact that he is the chief lawyer of the U.S. government makes it even more obscene than when Donald Trump criticizes the judiciary, in my estimation, because, to the extent that there's anybody in the executive branch who is supposed to uphold the, and have the most respect and it is most tethered to this other branch, it would be the Attorney General, right? I mean, this is and this is really scary stuff. I think that is not, at least in the coverage I've seen, it's all been focused about like, we brought on, the senator from Hawaii to say like, his country's great. And last night I, saw Brian Williams, joking about like, Hawaii is a great place to visit. I mean, look,
Sessions. It's actually not really, you and I mean, I like to laugh as much as I can. It's not really funny. He's funny. It's sickly funny that this guy's actually our Attorney General, because people don't. I mean, this is why when I saw sometimes the left lining up around, I never really understood, some of the things that we were united in opposing. Someone like Betsy DeVos. Yeah, she's terrible, but there's a lot she's going to do from the education department that wouldn't come from Trump anyhow. Whereas this guy, what he actually, says and does on law enforcement, there's some broad independent powers for the Attorney General. And he just, again, as you said, he's he's a Confederate. I mean, clear through and through. He still believes in the old Confederacy. He's an unreconstructed racist of the most obvious way. He's an authoritarian in that he's happy to tell anybody else how to do their business. God forbid they come and tell him how to do his. I mean, there's Hawaii, which took it on the chin for all of us in 1941, and persevered in an unbelievable sneak attack to start World War II. And then there's Alabama, which was part of a group of states that committed the largest act of treason in the history of this country, broke away, and led to a war in this country that killed over 600,000 people. If he had any self-awareness, he'd shut the fuck up. But clearly, that's not him.
No, and I, it's that much more problematic, like I say, for the media not to hold him to account for the really the most dangerous element of this, not whether or not Hawaii is a state or that I just find it super disturbing. Hey folks, Sam Seder here. Donald Trump can kiss all of our asses. And one way he can is by you subscribing to this channel. I don't know how that works.